Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
It's Corona time.
COVID-19, COVID-19, COVID-19.
COVID-19, yes.
COVID-19. COVID-19.
Coronavirus.
Vaccine. Number one way.
This is a story from Yahoo / KRON San Francisco. Vaccine demand plummeting.
Demand for the COVID-19 vaccine is plummeting in the United States. Tracking by the CDC shows the daily count of total doses administered nearing a low not seen since the start of the pandemic.
The CDC data shows that vaccinations overall are significantly down. What does that tell you?
I think what essentially has happened is so many people saw Omicron in the United States during the Omicron surge. And what that means is the hospitalization.
Okay, I'm sorry.
They saw Omicron.
I need to comment on this because, yes, she said so many people saw Omicron and then they edit her. So it doesn't even make sense how, like, I don't know what they were trying to edit together to make her say what
I bet she said something about Omicron being a vaccine or being effective like a vaccine,
They
like
had
Bill
to
Gates.
Right. They had to have cut it out because, otherwise it makes no sense. Listen to the question, listen to her response in the edit.
What does that tell you?
I think what essentially has happened is so many people saw Omicron in the United States during the Omicron surge. And what that means is the hospitalizations came down not just in places with high vaccination, but in places with high natural immunity.
That's exactly what they did. Yeah. They cut out her talking about how Omicron was more effective at giving people immunity than the vaccine.
And so I think at this point, people are like, well, you know what? I don't need to get vaccinated. I've seen Omicron.
Dr. Monica Gandhi, UCSF.
I've seen Omicron.
I don't need to get vaccinated. I've seen Omicron.
What a weird way to put it, though. I've seen Omicron.
Yeah.
Okay.
Infectious disease doctor says for those still on the fence about getting the shot,
even just one vaccine dose after having natural infection really does extend your immunity, make it stronger. So I would encourage just one dose for anyone who's had
No, that's not true. Not true.
It's not true.
And we can somewhat prove. Let me just
it's the other way around.
Yeah, let me just interject. We'll move on and go back to the clip here. But there is a story that is from NBCnews.com. Booster restores vaccine protection lost against Omicron. UK study finds.
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically saying they need the booster because the vaccine protection didn't work against Omicron, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
it does it for some ridiculously small amount and for some ridiculously small amount of time.
And so, and plus, getting one vaccine, it does not make you vaccinated. It makes you unvaccinated, or if the study or the survey or whatever is detailed enough, they'll say partially vaccinated. But I don't know. It's a very, it's funny how they still have to toe the line. They still have to push the vaccine narrative, even though she's just like, yeah, people saw Omicron, so you don't really need the vaccine, but you should still get one, just one. So
after having natural infection really does extend your immunity, make it stronger. So I would encourage just one dose for anyone who's had natural infection.
And with the extra vaccine stockpile, health departments are tracking millions of doses going to waste. The California Department of Public Health says
pause it real quick. So they're saying one dose will increase your protection after natural immunity. So they're saying to get a booster to your natural immunity. They're not even saying get fully vaccinated. Yeah. They're saying go ahead and get a booster.
No, it's whatever you need to give the narrative to get
whatever it takes to sell more vaccines.
Especially because they have so many left over here, as the report continues to talk about.
Encourage just one dose for anyone who's had natural infection.
And with the extra vaccine stockpile, health departments are tracking millions of doses going to waste. The California Department of Public Health says providers are asked to keep doses until they expire before properly disposing them.
I think the challenge is doing a better job both messaging the importance of vaccination.
Dr. Michael Wasserman sat on the California Vaccine Advisory Committee.
That is so annoying. This is a bad report.
Horrible.
He says
He starts talking about something.
He's talking about two things. He's saying both vaccination and then the lady comes in and cuts him off. And we don't even know what the second thing is.
Yeah.
Doing a better job both messaging the importance of vaccination.
Dr. Michael Wasserman sat on the California
No, you don't get to hear what else he has to say.
Vaccine Advisory Committee. He is still concerned about vulnerable groups and says remaining vaccine could be put to good use in California and other parts of the country.
We still have to vaccinate poor communities of color that are not fully vaccinated yet and that continue to have higher degrees of hospitalizations and deaths from COVID.
Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, we can't have any leftover.
Who hasn't taken it? Oh, the community of color. Well, we got to make sure the people of color and the poor people get it. Come on, man. Seriously. Yeah. It's over. It's over. Sorry, getting animated over here. Getting frustrated listening to this stuff.
It is over.
Yeah. So, we didn't have much in the COVID segment because it's just not much.
There's not a whole lot of COVID stuff going on.
All the fear has shifted over to Ukraine, and they're trickling out some of the more unpopular or refutive. Is that a word?
Sure.
Studies or just reports of things that don't fit the narrative. They're all kind of letting it come out now. And I think it's going to get worse as time goes on. And I say that because, it just in terms of the facts coming out, I have a link here. It's in the show notes for people that got it. It's phmpt.org, Public Health and Medical Professionals for Transparency documents. And all those Pfizer documents that are being released because of the court order, they're starting to release them. I think the first one just came out. And there hasn't been much fanfare about it. I don't know if the amount of scrutiny that would normally be on this has been, if we've had the same kind of scrutiny. But I'm sure in the next few days and weeks, somebody will find something in this this first data dump. And
this was the one where they were trying to hide it. And then I don't think this is the first big one.
It's his first release of it. Like they're going to do it in batches, I guess. But this is
I thought there was a 30-page batch that came out last week, but this is like 150 documents.
Yes. Yeah. So there's no way for me to really sit through any of this in any meaningful way. But
they're going to be doing what they're best at, which is hiding the facts through just a complete flood,
drowning people
of documents. They're like, we can't hide it. Okay, fine. Well, we'll release millions of pages to you that are, unsearchable PDFs. So to find anything, an actual person will have to go through and read it. And there are certainly, some sort of open source groups that are doling out, taking responsibility for reading it, as well as some legal groups that are doing that as well. But it'll take some time to get anything substantial out of it.
And by the time they do, it might be too late, which is usually the case. So there's that link there for anybody that wants to dig in. And then one more thing that I found interesting, and this is something that, people have talked about. We've talked about it. This new update by the CDC in terms of the COVID, warnings, and the CDC website here, people with certain medical conditions, and, it lists a bunch of stuff: cancer, chronic kidney disease, chronic liver disease. These are all people that have a higher risk when it comes to COVID, if they get COVID. Okay. But there was one in here that I thought was very interesting. A lot of them are, we've heard about them, the comorbidities, heart conditions, HIV infection, immunocompromised. But there's one that's labeled mental health conditions. And it's, I understand that can be a problem, but here's what it says. Having mood disorders, including depression and schizophrenia spectrum disorders, can make you more likely to get very sick from COVID.
What?
Yeah. I thought that was weird. Why would the CDC be telling us?
What are the conditions? Mood disorders?
Having mood disorders, including depression and schizophrenia spectrum disorders, can make you more likely to get very sick from COVID-19.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any more information?
I mean, there's some links to National Institute of Mental Health and more disorders, but no, not much more info on this one, which I thought was interesting. And considering all the other ones are more physical, like literally almost all the other ones are physical things, heart condition, immunocompromised, HIV, disabilities, diabetes.
They give some links here.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, let's check in on this. What do they have to say about COVID? They're just sort of like the official definitions of mood disorders,
depression,
postpartum, psychotic depression, seasonal affective disorder, bipolar disorder. They're just sort of like the official pages for those disorders. No information on why that makes it more dangerous to get COVID.
Scientifically speaking. Yeah. I'm just curious what the science is.
Well, we can connect it just with some other points that we've received. We had that antidepressant medication that was helping cure COVID.
Right.
Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So there is some sort of mental thing there. There was a report about people who were, what was it? It was like the people who had the most anxiety about COVID. And this was kind of part of the problem. It mixed up a lot of the data because there was this weird blip in the data that was coming through. Oh man, it must have been early 21, where the people who were following the rules the most were some of the people who were getting the most sick.
Right.
And there was some analysis of this that, they were following the rules the most because they were the most scared and the most stressed out about it. And so, they think that made them get it more or faster or worse or something because of their sort of mental condition. That is a really weird connection between mental health conditions and COVID-19, man. I don't even really know where to go with it.
I'm surprised there hasn't been more inquiry into this or somebody asking the CDC a question about this or something. I mean, Rochelle, can you give us an explanation for this one? I'm just curious,
Yeah, I mean, there's some suggestions in the chat, when you're stressed or something, you release more cortisol, a hormonal issue, and that cortisol can sort of
prevent physical healing.
Slow the healing process. There could be medications maybe that lower your immune system, I guess. But I don't know. It's just weird, man.
Well, we know, and maybe this is because I grew up in like a Japanese house, so maybe there's some Eastern influence in it. But in terms of just like your mindset, your mental condition really does affect your body, like physically, Yeah. So there is something there. I don't know what the Western science is on that, but I know there's more on it than not. But
I mean,
it could be something there.
It speaks to the dangers of the fear mongering, though.
Yeah.
Of course there are, physical ramifications for mental disorders or just sort of mental states, at least, where, having anxiety, changing your hormones, depression can, not just depress your mood, but possibly your immune system, stuff like that, which you may think, oh, yeah, makes total sense. OK, well, keep an eye out if you're having these problems. But keep in mind, those problems are often caused or exacerbated by constant media fear mongering.
Yeah, well, if we're going to talk about who is causing the mood disorders and the depression.
The news can literally be making people sick by stressing them out, making them depressed. And then, of course, there's the astronomical numbers about lockdowns and how that increased anxiety and depression for
the studies
millions of people.
The studies that will come out in the next few years of what it did to children psychologically, I'm sure is not going to be favorable to the people that were all about the lockdowns. So
yeah.